And I will make my central claim to you. It is the foundation of what 10 years of my life has been devoted to. It's not my choice to particularly have been involved in this issue, but if I think something, which by the way I don't actually operate from a belief system on this issue, as John was referring to, my claim is that since roughly the beginning of 1999, and that's not, by the way, a single hard date. We say, oh, life changed. It's the beginning of January 1999. It's not quite that simple. But certainly near the beginning of January 1999, a major systematic operation was commenced. And at least one purpose and objective of that operation was, and is to disseminate massive amounts of extremely fine materials, particulate matter, into the atmosphere. This is my claim. Each of you over time will need to decide for yourself whether that claim is to be accepted or substantiated by yourself. I'm not really here to persuade you, never really have been, to persuade you. That is the claim. I have spent roughly 10 years of my life to provide you with a basis of information upon which you can evaluate that claim for yourself. And that is my request and calling upon you. I have offered certain things of myself to you. This is true. I call upon you. If you believe this issue is important, you may not believe it's important. But remember my 2/10 of a second. I'm calling upon you to spend the time, to make the effort, devote whatever it takes to reach some clarity in your mind as to whether or not this issue exists, the significance of this issue, which, by the way, we know the popular term is chemtrails. Many of you that may have heard me realize I don't use that term. That's because I tend to try to be accurate in my language, and I would never, ever try to berate anyone that uses the term. Language is obviously a part of our culture, but just in terms of my standpoint, I will use the word aerosol usually, simply because I try to be accurate. I never have been particularly sexy in terms of my presentation. And Harriet Fells, which you will hopefully be introduced through tonight, is also calling upon us to think about the language. You run into difficulty if we create a term that doesn't exist, at least by formal definition doesn't exist. Again, language changes over time, and terms adopt and create their own existence over time. But at this stage of the game, where we are trying to communicate with the world, the choice of language, it affects us. It affects what happens. And if you're operating from a standpoint of trying to provide reasonable information, if you are dismissed on the basis of language alone, that can create difficulties. So you just simply bear with me for that if you will do so. I'm going to bring up some photographs as we go along. The photographs will not be of the best quality because they're taken off my website. And as we go along, you'll see that photography was a significant aspect of my work for about 2 years. This is primarily what I did. I have about 10 years invested in this now. The first couple of years were primarily that of documentation, just what is going on. Again, I'm a surveyor in part by the background, geophysics and surveying. I simply, not trying to read too much into it, but what is going on here and to document that. So we have roughly a couple of years of photographs, and those photographs, many of them are on my site, and I've just taken a few today to try to go to, and if they're not of the highest resolution, I hope you'll at least understand why, but they will at least, I hope, communicate the message. And so let's see if we can get this working, and see if I can figure this out. Yeah, and well, it's not fair to ask if you can see. Yeah, it's too simple. But the claim was made, as I expressed it to you. I made the claim, and other people made that claim. And this started in roughly 1999, at least in force. If you actually look at it, there is a continuum, literally dating back to the close of World War II. As soon as aircraft were able to disperse aerosols, actually there is a continuum of information that shows indeed such processes were taking place, involving some of the similar actions that we're speaking of. So don't regard 1999 as this magic date, but it was important in terms of the scale, scope, and extent of the operation, what I would call the arrogance of the operation, of the in-your-face regardless. And so I made the claim. I was a rather quiet federal employee in my background. It's not one like me to seek out notoriety particularly, but I did recognize the value of the internet for the little guy to distribute the word. And I took advantage of that, and I said, hey, folks, it looks like we've got something going on here. I'm going to show you what I'm seeing, and let's decide if we're going to get engaged or not. And so I started posting some photographs. Now, we may back up. We'll see if we can get this to work. But here's the starting point of it, and that is I start putting up information. I'm a quiet person by nature, not particularly noteworthy, certainly not an environmental activist by trade or history. You know, pretty decent employee as far as that stuff goes, but not particularly seeking out any kind of notoriety. I start doing this research. I start posting my information. What happens? What happens when I do that? Literally within a matter of days, the process started. I kept track of this for about a few months, I would say. I kept track of this. You can't do this anymore because of firewalls and such that are in place to conceal the information. But at the very early stages of this work, we had a degree of interest. I'm always too diplomatic sometimes in my words, but sometimes I loosen up. But we had a degree of interest expressed in my work. At the deepest level of anything that affects certainly the welfare, the health, the security, the commercial side of our existence, you had the highest degree being expressed almost immediately. And I don't know if you can read those names or not, and the list was about 200 to 300, and then I stopped. The list goes on. This is not the whole list. This is just a portion. These are not atypical. And so who comes on here? You have numerous military bases immediately. You have Lockheed Martin, Los Alamos National Laboratory, Allergan Pharmaceutical Corporation, Space and Strategic Defense Systems Command, Raytheon Defense Systems, Boeing Aircraft, United States Defense Logistics, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, United States Naval Sea Systems Command, headquarters, United States Air Force, the Pentagon, Andrews Air Force Base. It's on and on and on. And this was simply another piece of information. I'm not trying to read too much into this. I'm telling you the situation. When I started presenting information to the public from a position of no notoriety whatsoever, no history of activism, when I started presenting information to the public in the very same way that I used to do my job and say, this is a factor, it looks like it's an interesting factor here.